Hey guys, Stealth here. Welcome to World of Warships. Today we're going to have some fun with the Ognevoi, which is the Russian Tier 6 destroyer. Now I'm not sure if you should be calling it Russian or Soviet or whatever it was at the time. Anyway, it sails under I'd say the Soviet flag, the hammer and axe. Anyway, the Ognevoi is a destroyer, but it's not your average destroyer. The artillery of this ship is really quite good. It has a really high muzzle speed of 870 meters per second. If you compare that, for example, to my gearing, you're going to see that the gun speed is way lower at 790. Now this means that the Ognevoi is going to be firing shells at a much higher velocity, so they're going to arrive sooner. This means that it's easier to get these shots in at longer range, and trust me, you want to stay at longer range with the ship. Because you really have no range to get into, or no reason to get into short range, because the torpedoes are crap. These torpedoes are reloading pretty fast at 70 seconds. They turn pretty fast, and the torpedo itself at 65 knots, which can be upgraded to 70, is real fast. But the range is abysmal. At 4 kilometers, you're really not going to hit anything. It is really difficult to get these torpedoes in. And mostly, they're a last resort. So basically, all you have is these guns, and these things are called gunboats for a reason. Now, I know the US destroyers have the reputation of being gunboats, but I'd say that these things are more akin to being pure gunboats than the US destroyers. At least the higher tier US destroyers, such as the Gearing, these actually have pretty damn good torpedoes. The AA defense is, well, not quite there. You have a rating of 20, your range is not that good, 1.2 kilometers, 3.2 and a little bit at 3.5, but 3 damage per second is really not going to impress any kind of pilot. Maneuverability is quite good, but the turning circle radius is getting closer to cruiser spec than what you would expect from a destroyer. Rudder shift time is decent, but these ships are just a lot larger, a lot bigger than the US destroyers and the Japanese ones, so they're going to take up more time to turn. And as for concealment, they are not as good at concealing themselves as the US and the Japanese destroyers. They can be detected at sea at a range of 7.5 kilometers. Now that is very high compared to the other destroyers. If you look at the gearing, and this is without a commander, this is a tier 10 destroyer. It has a detectability by sea of 6.6. And you can pull this down to about 6.1. That's including, of course, the concealment expert and all of the camouflage that you can put onto this thing. 6.1 at tier 10 versus 7.5 at tier 6. This is going to dominate your playstyle because it means that you cannot get in close. Your torpedo range is 4, your detectability is 7.5, so if you get in close, you're going to be detected for 3.5 kilometers before those torpedoes get anywhere near the target. So let's head into a battle and see what this thing is all about. Now I gotta say, I have not been having as much success with the Ognevoi as I have with the US destroyers. I'm still learning the playstyle, and we're going to see if this is actually going to work out well this time. As for your target priority with the Ognevoi, I found that destroyers are your first priority. They are pretty easy to hit. If there's no destroyers nearby, go for cruisers. But even battleships can be put on fire or sometimes even penetrated with the armor penetration rounds quite easily, at least a lot better than I was expecting. Looks like this match is pretty decent. I'm the highest tier destroyer, but the enemy has more destroyers than we do. There is an Atlanta on the enemy team, and that is a problem for me. I can engage it, but if I do so, I will need to cape at maximum range before that thing actually starts to land accurate fire onto my ship. Because while you do have a decent amount of hit points, you are not going to survive long against an Atlanta at short range, or any cruiser for that matter. Now, there's nothing to be captured, so let's just start scouting ahead. And keep in mind, at this tier, you're going to be detected way before you detect the enemy. Especially those destroyers. The Matsukis, the Nicholases, these are tough ships. At least for me to detect. And I believe they have a detectability range of something along the lines of 6 to 7. which means that I'm going to be detected about 500 meters before they can detect, before I can detect them. Now with most of my cruiser and battleship fleet towards the middle, that's where I'm going to be heading. I'm not going to pop my speed boost just yet. This thing can get up to a pretty damn nice speed at full power, but it takes a while to get there. As far as the stats underway, you can always hold control and hover over your own ship, in case you didn't know that. It shows you all the important stuff. Now, my main battery range is 12, and my firing or my detectability range is 7.5. Normally, that would give you a detectability if you're firing of 11.5. So you should, or you would be saying that the ship can stealth fire. It can't. This ship has a detectability when firing that is significantly larger. Firing a main gun shell boosts your detectability up to 13.5, which means I have 1.5 kilometers more of detectability than I can actually use my concealment for. Now, no targets other than a Miyoko, so just gonna put some fire in on him. And you can see I'm doing some damage. I was hoping to put him on fire with the first couple of rounds, actually. And this is when I'm starting to veer off. I do not want to get too close to this guy. Let's load an armor-piercing round. There we go, now you're on fire. Just gonna have to put that out soon. There we go, he put out the fire. I'm gonna hit him with HE again. Now he's firing at me, here we go. Look at that, 825. That's with one armor penetration hit. It is, of course, a flat-side cruiser. It is a tier 7, which means that it is going to be, well, moderately armored. But sailing broadside onto a Soviet destroyer is generally not a very good idea. I have to start looking around here so that I don't sail into any friendlies. And there's another torpedo tube out of action. This guy might be able to avoid those torpedoes. Yep, he's turning. There's an enemy destroyer. There's the Nicholas. This is pretty much the range where I want to be at. I don't want to be much closer than this. If I get too close, he is going to have the advantage. So I'm going to stay perfectly at about 8.5 to 9 kilometer range. That's where his fire isn't too accurate and mine can be quite accurate. He did disappear. I gotta make sure I don't actually fire into my friendly here. Don't want to hit the York by accident. You can see that turning this ship around takes some time. The turret rotation speed of the Ognevoi is decent, but don't expect any miracles of it. It is faster than the Japanese destroyers, it is way slower than the US destroyers. So if you're going to turn, plan your turns accordingly to make sure your turrets are going to be lined up to the target. Now in a short period of time I've already done 12,500 damage, which I gotta say is pretty good by my standards. At least for my standard performance in the Ognevoi. You can see that there's just a bit of skirmishing going on at long range. Nobody's actually closing into short range. And the only one who tried to do that was the Nicholas, at least as far as we know of. They do still have a Motsuki. That means we can expect torpedoes pretty much at any moment. Let's see if I can help finish off these two ships. A Lonely Congo and a Koenigsberg that's probably going to be gone before I get there. Now I can hit the Congo, it is in firing range. Unfortunately there's a small island in the way. Oh, destroyer spotted. Turn the rudder around. And there's the Nicholas. He's going to be fighting off against the Kamikaze R. Well, the Kamikaze I believe is not firing. Which is good on him, you don't want to be firing in a Kamikaze R. So much for the Congo. Of course I've been detected again. Nicholas, the other Nicholas that is detected behind me. Gotta always keep an eye on the islands here. Especially with this ship, you do not want to run aground. That's the last thing that's gonna have to be on your mind. Having to run aground and then try to get yourself out of it. Destroyer down, coming around. Trying to get guns on the Matsuki here. Of course, he just disappeared from view. No hits. Now I want to close the distance, so now I'm going to pop my speed boost. See if I can get into the firing range a bit faster. And this thing with the speed boost enabled is fast. It's going to go upwards of 40 knots. And you can use that to very, very quickly close the distance on your target ship or to get yourself out of a troubling situation. For me, I'm going to use it right now to get closer to these two destroyers, hoping that the Matsuki is still going to be there by the time that I arrive. Rest of the team... Oh look, a Fuso. Maybe I can hit that guy. There, that should do it. Of course, this will announce my presence to the other destroyers, but they probably expect me already. I'm trying to put them on fire by firing at the superstructure. Come on. He's going to be out of range soon. Some hits, knocked out a secondary turret, but nothing critical. Hello, there's the target. This guy is too close. Way too close. So I'm going to veer off. And as he's going to be dealing with all of the ships that are over there, the New York, the Fuso and the Cleveland, I should be safe. Give him enough lead. A couple of rounds going in. There we go. He won't survive for much longer. There we go. No, that's not the last destroyer that was operating here. We need to find the Matsuki before it's going to go after probably the New York. If I was that Matsuki, I would go for this lonely New York, which does not have an escort at the moment. And the one notification of torpedoes is going to be the torpedo hitting his hull. That's usually the only warning that you get. New York is pretty maneuverable. There we go, torpedoes already on the way. I think it just got hit by one of them. Yep, there's another salvo. The salvo came from over there, so he's pretty close. Looks like he got hit again. Now with no enemy cruisers nearby, I'm just gonna pound this Fuso for a bit, as there's really nothing that can threaten me that much. Battleships will usually ignore you because, well, if you are sailing battleships, you know how hard it is to hit a destroyer. And at this range, I usually start to experiment with armor penetration. Oh, there we go, incoming rounds. Armor penetration versus HE. A little bit of damage. Angle's terrible though. Armor penetration at this angle versus a Fuso? I don't think so. Nah, not really. Maybe I can hit him alongside on. That might work. Nope. How about the Congo? Congo is generally not very heavily armored. He's firing. When you see a ship firing, it's always helpful to just slow down. Come on. Ognevoi, you can do better. No? Anything? Nope. AP is not on my side at the moment. Now that destroyer's still there. He seems to have been heading north, so he might... Yep, there we go. He might try to come out the other side. I'm trying very hard to turn the ship around. Doing the maximum that the rudder can do to change the course of this ship, but it's not working as well as I hope. Or at least when you're coming off US destroyers, these things are going to feel sluggish as all hell. Torpedoes ahead, they're not anywhere near my position. I could put up a smoke screen and try to save this guy. So let's go for that. Oh, finally a hit. Another hit. I have to slow down a little bit, otherwise there's not going to be enough smoke for this guy. I am detected because I fired a minute ago, or a little while ago, and the 20 seconds still haven't passed. Come on. Matsuki, I know you want a piece of this battleship. And now he's firing at me. Interesting. I'd say that a gunnery duel for him is not going to be beneficial, considering I have battleship support. Shit. Oh, this is going to be a problem. There we go. I don't think he's going to hit the battleship, though. I was sailing in straight lines for way too long there. The battleship has survived. He seems to be doing quite alright. So let's try and hunt down this destroyer. I would be trying to come out the other end with the Mitsuki, or try to just circle back, but never mind. So let's have a look. 17,500 XP, or 17,500 XP. 135. Decent as far as teams go. Most damage done to the Miyoko with, I think, the level of HE shells that I put into. Maybe some fire cost. There we go. Let's do another one. Now, as you can see, the Mitsuki, the Ognevoi is a very good skirmisher. It's a very good marauder, but as for a straight-up gunfighter, I wouldn't particularly use it in that role. It tends to lose duels against a, let's say, a US destroyer of any tier. Luckily, there's not too much time. Shouldn't be waiting around for too long here. There we go. Oh dear. Save for that lonely Minakaze that was dragged up by the Mitsuki, I'm the lowest tier here. There's again 3 destroyers, so I'm going to try to hunt those guys down, and if I find the Mitsuki, I'm likely to also find the Minakaze, considering they're platooned up. The Hatsuharu is platooned with the Chapayev. Chapayev has radar, and that's the only ship in their lineup that has radar. But, of course, radar, in my case, isn't really a problem. Because with this type of destroyer, I'm always assuming that I'm spotted. Always. It just does not matter. Normally, for a destroyer, I would go and capture C. If I find myself going up against, for example, the Chapayev there, or even the Pensacola with help from a destroyer, that would be death. So instead I'm going to head for B and try to capture that. Let's pop the speed boost right from the get-go. What cruisers do I have here? Cleveland, Mogami, Tirpitz, Mexico, and York. Okay. Now they're probably not going to like me not going to sea, but for me it's much more about staying alive so I can start to pick off targets at a later date than getting myself killed in the first 3 to 5 minutes. That's really not going to help anyone. And that's the way that I usually feel about playing most ships. If you have the potential of getting yourself killed in the first couple of minutes, make sure that you do not get killed. You want to be alive because, especially destroyers, I find that they shine later on. That's when they do really, really well. Oh crap, I'm not running at full speed. Only 30 knots. So I wasted about half of my speed boost there. So now we're getting somewhere. 37, 38, 39. Yeah, we're gonna hit 40. Oh, really? Okay, we're fanned out at 39. There we go, 40 knots. Maximum speed of this ship. And that's probably something you can boost even further with the speed signal flag, which I don't believe that I'm running at the moment. The enemy is capturing C, unsurprising, and all of these cruisers are wise enough not to try and go in there all by themselves, which would not really work out very well. We have a Pensacola here and a Tirpitz. I'm going to try and capture this first before I make myself known to other ships, and of course they will know that I'm over here by the time they start seeing B getting captured. Speed boost disabled, slowing down slightly, but it should stay at around 36.5 to 37 on average. There's a Pensacola. Pensacola's are great targets for this ship, by the way. Very, very lightly skinned. Just mind their guns. Those 203mm rounds really, really hurt. And it's not something that you want to get hit with. And I'm about to start skirmishing with this Tirpitz. First I'm going to capture it. So if I get hit, that's when we lose all capture progress on B. There we go. Now we can fire. Yep, set him on fire at the first couple of rounds. 2000 damage. The superstructure from Tirpitz is a beautiful target for HE. And it is quite long, quite easy to hit. Another 528 hit. I want to get more. Just turning away. Oh! Look at that. Just stay there for a moment and I'll put you on fire again. 1000 damage. Come on, hit the superstructure. He's reversing very, very slowly. There we go. Put him on fire. I'm slowly turning away, as I don't want to get too close to the battleship that's right behind me. And potentially any kind of cruiser support that he might have. They're already taking fire. I'm taking fire from what seems to be the Colorado. Possibly Miyoko, but I think that Miyoko might have a little bit of difficulty hitting me at this range. Tirpitz returning fire. Finally. Getting nowhere near. And now it's time to start worrying about the other flank. Let's slow down. Pop the smoke. And start working this Atago over. This would be a beautiful opportunity to fire AP. Incapacitated to defend at the flag. 825, come on, get a Citadel hit on this guy. That was too low. 825. Come on. Incapacitated something. I'm about to get incapacitated myself by the island that's right in front of me. Oh, turn. Turn. There's the Hatsuharu. Switch back to HE because I'm going to be engaging the Hatsuharu next. Oh, torpedoes. Speed up. It's going to be a close call. There we go. There's the Miyoko. Oh, this is going to be good. I need to start using this island to steer away from the Atago. Start to worry about the Miyoko here. Miyoko, though, is not worried about me. So you know what? I'm going to slowly slip away. I'm going to hold my fire. Wait for the detection bubble to shrink. And that's when I'm down to 7.5. There we go. I might get hit by that. Yep, hit me a little bit. Didn't put me on fire. Now I can steer away from this ship. But again, I managed to distract the Tirpitz. I managed to distract, I think, this Biyoko. The Atago over there was no longer firing at any of the other ships. And that's what I feel that the ship does best. It's sort of a lightning rod. It's there to take the pressure away from the enemy, or from my friendlies. Now, at 10.9, he's going to have a very hard time hitting me. Of course, not impossible, but it's going to be difficult. And I think that he might be sitting still there. There's another ship there. That's the Pensacola we saw earlier. So let's have a look if we can find and get some shells in on this guy. There is a destroyer nearby. Looks like our team is converging heavily on A and B. We've already sunk 3 cruisers. Oh, Pensacola, why are you doing this?
Torpedoes to starboard.
Really? Interesting. So that destroyer is already somewhere over there. Now hold my fire. Hello, you're way closer than I had hoped. This is bad news for that Matsuki. Really, really bad news. And at the same time I'm blading myself against the Pensacola, trying to present a smaller target, as I'm not really too worried about the guns from the Matsuki. Let's close in on this guy.
Engine boost activated.
Pensacola is still trying to do whatever it can to try and help his destroyer buddy, but I don't think he's going to be... Oh, crap. Oh. You can say what you want about these Russian destroyers, but it's always exciting to see if you can avoid the torpedoes. Now, do not hit me again. A couple of hits on the Pensacola there. I'm gonna neutralize his steering gear. Come on. There we go. Propulsion knocked out. You should start slowing down now. Another hit for 528. I still need to hit him way more times than that. Oh, there's Pensacola. There, Pensacola's out. Thank you for that.
Torpedoes to port.
Oh yeah? I really don't think so. This guy's disappearing again. He seems to be firing his torpedoes off in smaller salvos instead of the larger groupings, so that should allow me to close in before he fires off another one. There you are. That might have been a bit too much. No, actually, he's moving at exactly the right speed to hit him with that. There we go, he's down. So, we're doing quite well, I'd say. A lot of ships alive on our side that are no longer with us from their team. They still have one destroyer, though. That seems to be operating all the way around there. It's time for me to head all the way back. I doubt that I'm going to be of any use furthermore in this match, though. There's just too much ground to cover, even at about 36 knots. But hunting down that destroyer was critical. Otherwise, this New Mexico and the Turpets would have been constantly under torpedo attack, forcing them to maneuver and getting less and less guns on target. Hello, Minakazi. You really should not have come this way. Come on. Incapacitated. He repaired. Need to close in on this guy. There's nothing really that he can do. He's going to be turning back into these islands, trying to find a way to slip through the cracks. If he gets there, then he's going to make it away. If we can stop him before he gets there, we can finally nail this destroyer, neutralize any kind of capping ability that they have left, and save a lot of battleships from a horrible torpedo death. Hello, Turpets. I got nothing else to fire at but you. Whoa, this guy's getting close. I need to be wary of torpedoes. If I was that Minakazi, I'd be firing torpedoes right about now. Come on, if I nail this guy, we win almost instantly. Yep. There we go. 983. Hopefully don't get hit by the Turpets. That would be a really bad way to go out. Oh! I think that the Miyoko is the perpetrator there. I'd say. From that. 2700 XP. That's not bad. 39,000 damage, and you can see that I did not use a single torpedo. I didn't even fire one. But surely by capturing, skirmishing, keeping others distracted, you can get these pretty decent rankings. And of course, I'm not the best Ognevoi player, not even close. But just keep your distance, start skirmishing, and make it work that way. Because the more fire that you can draw from the enemy, the less fire that your ships, which are easier to hit, such as your battleships and your cruisers, are going to take. So, hope you enjoyed these Ognevoi live, or sort of live gameplays. Let me know what your thoughts are on this destroyer, or the destroyer line as a whole. Am I going to be looking forward to better ships, or is this one of the best ships of the line? Let me know. Looking forward to seeing your comments down below. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time for the next video.